The three scalene muscles are sandwiched between the sternocleidomastoid and the anterior flap of the trapezius on the anterior lateral side of the neck. The anterior scalene lies partially tucked beneath the SCM, while the middle scalene is slightly larger and lies lateral to the anterior scalene. Both muscle bellies are directly accessible. And the smaller posterior scalene is located between the middle scalene and the levator scapula muscle. The large branches of the brachial plexus and subclavian artery pass through a small gap between the anterior and middle scalenes.
So let's isolate the structures that really pinpoint where the scalenes are located. First, we've got the SCM, then the edge of the trapezius, and then the clavicle. These three form what's known as the posterior triangle of the neck. And if I set my fingers right into that space and ask my partner to take a nice deep breath into the upper lungs, great. And there, underneath my fingers, I feel the strong, ropey muscles of the scalenes. Great, go ahead and relax. So I'm going to keep my fingers here and isolate two of the three bony landmarks that help isolate where the scalenes are. First is going to be the first rib. First rib starts here, passes under the clavicle, like so. And I can set my fingers into this space and feel the surface of the first rib right there. And that's where the anterior and middle scalene are going to attach. Then, if I shift a little more lateral, I'll find the surface of the second rib, and that's where the posterior scalene attaches. Good. The third landmark, or landmarks, will be the TBPs of the cervical vertebrae, which I'm going to find right here on the lateral side of the neck, just underneath the SCM. So I'm just kind of rolling my fingers across that ridge formed by the TBPs. So now let's just see if we can find the anterior scalene. Go ahead and raise your head a little bit. There we can see the edge of the SCM, and I'm going to leave my finger right there. Go ahead and relax. And that there is the anterior scalene belly. Now the SCM runs in this direction, but the anterior scalene is going to go in that direction. And go ahead and take another high, deep breath. And that muscle clearly contracts. And I can follow it as it passes underneath the SCM to attach on the TBPs. Okay, and relax. Now next to the anterior scalene will be the middle scalene. And there I can feel the belly of the middle scalene. And this now is going to head sort of in that direction. And then if I continue one step further, a little deeper into the neck, will be the posterior scalene. And go ahead and take another deep breath. Sure enough, this smaller, probably the smallest of all scalenes, definitely contracts and relax. And it's going to head out in this direction, pretty much straight lateral. Now, how do I know that I haven't overstepped my palpation and gone from the anterior to the middle to the posterior to the next muscle around the neck, which would be the levator scapula? Well, there's a little test we can do to find out. The levator scapula helps elevate the scapula, but the posterior scalene doesn't. So, if I set my fingers on what I believe to be the posterior scalene, right there, and I ask my partner, go ahead and elevate your scapula. There you go, kind of bring your shoulder up toward your ear. Fabulous. This muscle I'm palpating, it's loose, it's relaxed, nothing's happening. And go ahead and relax. So it's not engaged. So that must be the posterior scalene. And just for fun, if I slide a little further posterior and ask my partner to go ahead and raise your scapula, this muscle, the next muscle in line, definitely contracts, and that's your levator scapula. So a little trick to kind of discern exactly which muscle you're on. Go ahead and relax. Finally, we can lengthen the scalenes by laterally flexing the head to the opposite side like so, and we can shorten them by laterally flexing the head to the same side.